people. Hey, we're back up here in the Vinyl Attic after a little bit of break to do something very special, which is an unboxing of the new Revolver remix remastered set that Giles Martin put out. Came out on Friday. I would have bought it on Friday, but I had to wait to get paid. We're going to open it up. Oh my gosh, it looks so different. This is I got this for today for $139.99 at Music Millennium here in Portland, Oregon. We're going to unbox it. I'm going to show you what's inside it, and then I'm going to listen to it, and I'll be back up here to tell you what I think. This is my original. I've got several different versions of it. This is the original American version that I bought in probably 1977 as a teenage Beatle fanatic, second generation. There's multiple versions of this, including CD and vinyl and slimmed down. This is the big one. I wanted to get everything. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 discs and an EP. So let's find out. Okay, I'm going to open this up, and I'm always nervous about doing this. I used to have a specially trained thumbnail when I was a teenager because I never want to damage something by taking the shrink wrap off. So I'm going to be very careful here. I'm very excited. I've been purposely not reading about this. You know, the last one that Giles Martin did was Let It Be, and that was expansive and had tons of stuff that we'd never heard before. Revolver, there isn't really anything from this period that hadn't been heard before. Was on the anthology series. Anything from any Beatles. There's no like lost Beatles songs or anything. So we got all that stuff. Like, not guilty to mention a few. All right. Oh, I tore that. That's all right. That's all right. We don't need the sticker. I used to save everything. All right, here we go. We're taking it off. It kind of like I don't know why it looks a little different. Maybe it's because it's got this black frame around it. Okay, here we go. Oh, it opens up like this, like they all have been. All right. Oh, it looks like a book. Look at this. Oh wait, it is a book. Surprise, surprise. Okay, okay, here are the CDs. The new stereo mix, the original mono master. Because in those days, in 1966, nobody had stereo. Everything, the radio was on mono, and people's home systems were on mono. The Revolver EP, which is Paperback Writer and Rain, stereo and mono. Then the two outtakes. The disc of all the outtakes, which it's the thing I'm the most excited listening about. Like, there's one of them. Look at this. Maybe an alternative cover. Maybe there's a story behind that picture. We'll find out. So those are the CDs. Oh my gosh. Staying up all night tonight listening to this. And look at this. So this is the book. This is the book that comes with it. Oh my gosh. So, forward by Sir Paul McCartney. Thank you, Paul. He certainly is the one person that should be talking about this besides Revolver. Introduction by Giles Martin. I think I called him Giles once, but Giles Martin. And Questlove has a piece on it. And for those of you that don't know, there are many who believe that this album is the greatest rock album of all time, maybe the greatest album of all time. You know, it was a moment where the Beatles were ready to leave touring forever. They were supposed to do this movie, Gun Love, or whatever it was called, A Reason for Love. What was the name of it? Flash it on the bottom of the screen, please. A Taste of Loving. Was that it? They decided they wanted to do it. So they were freed. They went off on vacation, and they came back to record this album, which, as I'm sure we'll discuss, is completely different than anything that came before it. So there's a lot of text in here, lots of cool pictures. There's our George. Mostly pictures. Oh, nice. The lyric sheets. I think there's a chapter for each song here and sort of the background for each song. Oh my gosh. Can I just have 3 days where I don't have to do anything else but go into this record and read this book? Yellow Submarine. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to read this. We're going to listen to it. We're going to put the headphones on. Maybe ingest something, and I'm gonna tell you what I think about this new Revolver. It's a very nice package. It's kind of straightforward. The vinyl one looks similar, except instead of having 5 CDs. It's got 4 LPs and a EP. Oh my gosh. It's August 1966 all over again. We get to hear this for the first time with fresh ears. Giles Martin has de-mixed it. This was originally done on 4-track. So there's a lot of labor in this. They use some of the technology they developed during the Let It Be remixing to be able to pull out sounds. So it's going to be very interesting. There's going to be a lot of close listening, a lot of comparing it to the original mono and stereo mixes. But okay, here we go. I will be back after I have sufficiently blown my own mind. See you in a bit. All right. I have had a full 48 hours to do nothing but Revolver ingestion. So I wanted to talk about sort of first impressions. First, the book is great. There is just a lot of detail about each track here. A lot of stuff that I didn't know. You will learn all kinds of new things, including the evolution of some songs. And the foreword by Paul McCartney is basic Paul. He just says, we're a great little band. There's nothing revelatory about that. The Questlove piece about the significance of the album is really good, though. He really puts it in a contemporary perspective. Nice little package. Oh, and the coolest thing about this, I didn't even notice when I first opened up, there's a sort of a cartoon by Klaus Voormann, who was the Beatles' pal back in the Hamburg days, who did, of course, the cover to Revolver and Beatles Anthology. And I think this is a new thing that he did for this. From a little graphic novel about the cover. So that's not been seen. That's very cool. Okay, let's get to the music. Here we are with this great. So let me just say, first of all, put this in context. You have to remember that when this crazy, bizarre record was recorded, they were still the 4 Mop Tops. They were still in the middle of Beatlemania, or the tail end of Beatlemania. When they recorded this in late spring of '66, they still hadn't gone on the big final tours of Germany and Japan, Budokan, and the crazy thing of the Philippines, and then the return to America to play Shea Stadium one more time, and then of course end up at Candlestick Park. I mean, they're still doing Long Tall Sally and I Want to Hold Your Man. They're also doing Rain, which was one of these sessions, Paperback Writer. But they're still, woo! Meanwhile, they're blowing their minds with drugs and altering their DNA and all that good stuff. So you have to remember the context of which they were doing this. They were still the Mop Tops. So on all these Giles Martin remixes, there's sort of some themes. One is Ringo's hi-hat comes right in the forefront. Giles is in love with Paul's bass, so Paul's bass goes way up. But the other thing that's a theme, and I don't think gets as much attention, is how much we get to hear George Harrison's voice on the harmonies. I mean, he has such a unique voice, and it kind of gets drowned out in the original George Martin mixes. In these remixes, you really get George up front. So I just want to mention some of the songs that really stood out on this. After listening to it I ingested a little gummy, put the headphones on, turned off my mind and relaxed, float downstream to Revolver numerous times. When you hear Paul's bass, like the opening of Taxman is great, and you just hear how jazzy it is, or just how clever his bass line is. It really sort of drives that song. Eleanor Rigby, the strings are much more, they were really trying to channel the strings from the movie Psycho, like those really closely mic'd strings, and so you really hear the strings here. The song to me that really stands out as being qualitatively different or revelatory or insightful is Love You Too, George's song. And the reason for this is you really get the Indian raga drone on it. It really comes through that. It feels much more like classical Indian music. And the guitar, which I always thought was John, because in my mind, George is jamming on the sitar. That is mixed way down. You barely hear it. On the mono version, it's up more, but it just sounds almost like a different song. I mean, it's really fun to listen to it. George's voice again in Yellow Submarine comes through really clear. I mean, it's just so nice to hear his voice. There are some tracks like She Said, and the Rain track where it's all about Ringo's drums. You're like, what the hell is this guy playing? Nothing is the same twice. It's just constantly reinventing it. The other sort of thing that kind of blew my mind is For No One, that there's two pianos going on there. I thought it was just the left hand and dun 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 dun. I thought it was just the left hand and the right hand, but there's actually two different pianos. You can hear the left hand and the right hand on two different pianos playing at the same time, and that was also, mixed together, because again, this was just on 4-track. So hearing the piano on For No One is a really good one. Got to Get You Into My Life, amazing bass. That song is really long. I think that might have been when the THC was really kicking in, because I'm like, God, I don't remember this song being this long, as this goes on and on and on. And of course, you get to Tomorrow Never Knows. The thing that John said about Tomorrow Never Knows, he wanted it to sound like he was a yogi on a mountaintop. But it really, to me, sounds like you're in a valley with all this crazy stuff going on all around you in a valley. Like it's like, Apocalypse Now or something. And there's all this screaming and weird birds and this droning. It just feels like you're on a trip. Maybe I'm biased on that one, but it just really feels like you're in a completely different headspace. And of course, you also get Paperback Writer and Rain. The mono mixes are much punchier. I mean, they were intended for your AM radio, and so they're much punchier. They're a little more up. I think the Paperback Writer is the one where it really sounds like a completely different song. If you put the paperback mono next to the paperback stereo, they really feel like two different songs. Also included this are the outtakes. There's 34 outtakes here, and I just briefly want to mention the highlights of this. Number one, which will be talked about by many people, is getting to see the evolution of Yellow Submarine. And most of us have grown up with the notion that it's a Paul song. Paul wrote it. In fact, he even in the intro says, I wrote this song for Ringo. We learned that the initial basis of it was a John song. In a town where I was born, no one cared, no one cared. That was a John song. And then Paul says, hey, let's turn it into a Submarine song and give it to Ringo. So you get a couple of John versions, and then the Beatle version, including one that has like a spoken word intro from Ringo and a bunch of different special effects. We hear much more clearly the cavalcade of stars that are singing in the background, including Marianne Faithfull and Brian Jones and Al Bicknell and George Martin, everybody that was in the studio. Patty Boyd Harrison, the newlywed, they just got married a couple months before. So there's just a lot more going on, and you get 4 or 5 versions of Yellow Submarine that takes you through this incredible evolution. Hearing the original Rain at the original speed before it was kind of slowed down to make it more psychedelic, you hear crazy Paul's basses. It's just like all over the place. You don't know what's going on. And the other thing is the demos that are provided, especially John's demos, sound like the demos from Escher. They sound like he's working on a song for the White Album. He's just been to India, and She Said is one of a song they wrote in India. It really takes it back. And I'm being mindful, and I'm listening to this. This is less than 3 years before the Let It Be sessions. Before January '69. And so you get to hear a lot of the studio banter, and a lot of it sounds, John's cracking jokes, and a lot of it sounds just like the Let It Be sessions, but they're more invested in their combining the talents into a song. Ringo has suggestions. Paul says, let's do this. John says, let's try this. You see them working more as a cohesive unit than you did, 2 and 3/4 years later when they were working on Abbey Road in the winter of their discontent, or in Abbey Road and Let It Be. So the studio chatter is really fun to listen to. It's really makes you feel like you're in the room with them. So there is all this going on. It is just so much fun. It is so much fun. I think of all the Giles Martin remixes, even though there's less new material on this one, there's much more to listen to. I suggest I can't publicly suggest this, but I suggest privately you get something else to help you settle into the music and get in the relax your mind and flow downstream headspace, and drop the needle on Taxman and take off. Just incredible. Who knows what Giles is going to do next? I mean, the obvious thing would be to do Rubber Soul. We'll take it. We'll take any of it. It's really great to hear this music through new ears. The old one, the original, is still, the standard, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Get it with the mono mix. Get it with the 34 outtakes from the studio. You'll have a whole new appreciation for this record. You'll never listen to Yellow Submarine the same way. You'll never listen to Taxman the same way. Really great. Thanks, Giles. Appreciate it. All right, we'll be back up here with some more vinyl soon. We're doing an XTC record coming up, but we want you to take care of yourself. This music matters. These records matter. The Beatles matter. You matter. So let's talk about it.